Welcome to the ultimate Moonshiner guide for Red Dead Online. In this comprehensive guide, we're going to walk through everything you need to know to start and excel in the Moonshiner role. Whether you're a seasoned player or just starting out your journey, this guide will provide you with valuable insights and tips to make the most of your Moonshiner experience. To get started with the Moonshiner role, you'll have to have the trader role and get that role to rank 5. If you don't have the trader or you just want to skip that additional requirement, you can, but it is going to cost you an additional 5 gold bars on top of the Moonshiner price. You will then get a letter sent to you from Cripps, so you can pick that up either at the post office or in the camp lockbox. He offers to introduce you to Maggie Fike, who you will meet at Emerald Ranch, and you can purchase a Moonshine Shack for 25 gold bars. If you don't have enough at the time, you can purchase it by going into the menu setting, and under Camp and Properties, you will have the option to purchase a Moonshine location. Every month, Rockstar has events where it will give bonuses on certain game modes and roles, and you'll also get discounts on certain roles. This means you can get like 5 or 10 gold bars off the price of the Moonshine Shack, so definitely worth keeping an eye on that. And I do cover all of the monthly event details on this channel, so might be worth considering subscribing if you want to make sure you're kept up to date. The Moonshine Shack does come with an optional bar, which is probably one of the highlights of having a Moonshine Shack, and there are 5 locations for you to choose from. You have the Grizzlies, Hennigan Steed, the Bayou, the Heartlands, and Tall Trees. If you want to change locations after you purchased it, it'll cost you $250, and all the interiors are essentially the same, although if you do purchase the bar extension, you will have different decoration in the bar for each of the locations. It is also possible to upgrade the decor in each of those bars, and there's 4 different options for you to pick. But what is the best Moonshine Shack location for business? Well, Tall Trees is one of the easiest shacks to make your moonshine deliveries from, thanks to the terrain being mostly flat and smooth. It's also not that far from Blackwater, which is handy if you want to go to town, and it's also very close to Manzanita Post, which has a fast travel location, making it very convenient. The Heartlands location is the most central to shops and other NPCs and relatively good for deliveries. Hennigan Steed is good for the isolated desert deliveries, and the Grizzlies is probably the worst location as it has a lot of bumps in the road and you often break bottles during sales. I think the Moonshine Shack in the Bayou also is a really good location and has a nice atmosphere in the standard bar that you get. Personally, I think the 2 best options of all of these is either the Bayou or Tall Trees, as they are in good locations and the roads are pretty good. My personal favorite though is Tall Trees, as I genuinely believe that you can get the quickest runs there. There's also not that much traffic on the trails, not like Saint Denis. But it is only $250 to change your Moonshine Shack location, so by all means experiment and see what suits you. Before you can start upgrading your shack and making your shine, you will have to do 2 setup missions first. These will be rescuing your new cook, Marcel, who is the guy who will make your shine for you in the shack, and you will also have to do a mission where you source the equipment. When you're all set up, you will be able to talk to Maggie to be able to do some Moonshine story missions, some Bootlegger missions, or to purchase upgrades for your shack. We will cover all 3 of these, but we will start with story missions, as it's probably best to play through these first to help you rank up the role and open up some new upgrade options. There are 5 Moonshiner story missions with 3 levels of difficulty. The hardest difficulty is Ruthless, and you will have 0 lives in these missions. NPCs will also be hidden from the map, and there is no auto aim on these. Moonshine story missions can be done solo or with a posse, and if you finish the Moonshine story mission A Bitter Means to a Bitter End, you will add another possible buyer to your list of buyers. Also, completing all Moonshine story missions will permanently lower your cost of MASH to $50. We will get into MASH a little later, but suffice to say that this is a good saving. Next, we'll look at the upgrades. I spoke earlier about how you can get a bar extension as well as a band upgrade. The bar is a cool little place that you can hang out in, and you can also invite your posse over to have a few drinks. You'll also be able to make a little gold on the side by completing daily challenges, as many are actually based in the Moonshine Bar. Giving you a quick little tour here, if you want to invite people from the lobby to your Moonshine Shack, you can do so on the guest list just here on the wall. If you get too drunk, you can sober up very quickly by using this barrel here, and you will have your own personal supply of weak moonshine here in these barrels in the corner. That said, if you are currently brewing your own kind of moonshine, it will be supplied to the taps at the bar, and this can be a great way to get some gold rings around your cores. You can also serve other players, which is a daily challenge, and if you're both drunk and in offensive mode, you'll have a unique greeting and antagonize option while in the moonshine bar, which is also an easy daily challenge to complete. If you have the band extension, you will also be able to play with the band, and you will also be able to dance to the music in the shack. Again, these are 2 daily challenges, very easy to do, and overall the Moonshine Bar is often a really cool place just to hang out and knocking out daily challenges, so it's well worth getting. As I mentioned earlier, each Moonshine Shack has its own unique default style bar, which ties in with the location that the shack is in. There are 3 additional decors that you can choose from, which you can purchase from Maggie upstairs. These are the floral decor, the hunting decor, and the refined decor. Once you purchase one, you can swap back and forth via Maggie if you want to change. And once purchased, you don't have to purchase again, like haircuts and stuff, so it's worth grabbing at least one, as there is a daily challenge for that, and it's pretty easy gold. I do a video that showcases all of those interiors, and I'll leave the link to that below in the description. There is one more interior you might come across while playing online, and that is the Gothic interior. Unfortunately, this was added with the Halloween Pass 1 and so far has not been brought back since it was released. There are 2 unique items that you can get via the Moonshiner Role. Also, these are the Flammable Moonshine as well as the Toxic Moonshine. The Flammable Moonshine unlocks when you reach rank 5 of the Moonshiner Role and have 2 tokens. It can be purchased at the Moonshine store or at any fence for the price of $20. This is highly potent alcohol and can be poured and set alight pretty easily. You can't drink this, but you can have a lot of fun setting stuff on fire. The Toxic Moonshine bottle can be purchased from the Moonshine store also for the price of $5. It can be crafted once you reach rank 5 and purchase the Toxic Moonshine pamphlet for $500 and 1 roll token at the fence. It basically creates a cloud of toxic fumes when you throw it, which to be honest doesn't do a huge amount of damage, and most players will just run out of that area of effect. It can be some bit useful with NPCs, and crafting Toxic Moonshine can be a daily challenge, so it might be worth picking it up for that. Crafting it is pretty simple. The only word of advice I will give you is just make sure if you're doing it for the daily that you don't already have the max of 8 moonshine tonics in your inventory, as you just won't get the option to craft it, and it can be a 9. Finally, we'll get into the business upgrades. First is the condenser upgrade. This will cost you $825 and it unlocks the average moonshine quality. Next, you want to get the polished copper upgrade, which will cost you $875 and 3 tokens. This large still will allow you create strong moonshine at $200 plus per delivery. You will have to buy the medium still before you can purchase the large one, but once you're fully upgraded, strong moonshine takes around 48 minutes to make and it will sell for $200 plus. When you want to craft some moonshine, you'll have to purchase some mash, and the bootlegger missions will temporarily reduce the cost of mash by $20, with $10 mash being the cheapest you can get it to. These missions are pretty straightforward and easy, from fighting at rival bars, killing revenue agents, escorting drunk people home, and burning some rival fields, as well as sabotaging some rival moonshine operations. That said, if you have a stealthy mission to do, if you don't do it stealthily, you will only reduce the cost of the mash by $10 and not $20. So you have to do it completely stealthy to get that $20 reduction. So you know what you need. You need equipment and you need mash, but how do you make moonshine? Well, making moonshine just involves starting your mash, either weak, medium, or strong. The price of the mash can be reduced, as I said, by either doing bootlegger missions or story missions. Weak shine will take around 24 to 30 minutes, depending on your upgrades. Average will take around 36 to 45 minutes, and the strong moonshine will take the longest, 60 minutes, or if you have the upgrades, will only take 48 minutes. And of course, you can also go with 1-star, 2-star, or 3-star recipe flavorings on these that will increase the price for a certain customer who really likes that flavor. Production of your moonshine will only occur while you are in free roam, and if you start like the Moonshiner story missions or just normal story missions or showdowns or something like this, the production of your moonshine will stop. In general, if you're just hanging about in free roam, the moonshine will be in production, but if you do join another person's posse, the moonshine production will stop also. The buyer list rotates every 1 hour and 36 minutes, which is 2 in-day games. If your buyer is gone, you can always sell it to Bert Higgins for a really low price. He'll drink absolutely anything that you make. You can also add flavor at any time up till the moonshine is finished. So waiting till just before it's ready and seeing what buyers want what at that exact time and then adding the flavor that they want is probably the safest bet to do this. As adding it at the start, you always run the risk that maybe you'll get caught up in something or you'll forget and then the buyer will be gone and you'll have to sell it to good old Bert. And although he'll drink anything, he'll only drink it for the lowest possible price. Adding flavor also takes a little time as well and varies on the strength of the moonshine, but it can take up to 10 minutes when you're using strong moonshine. So just keep that in mind if you're adding the flavor very close to when the buyers are about to reset. To increase the amount of flavors you will have to find or unlock certain moonshine recipes, and there are 10 moonshine recipes in total. You start with 5 and then you unlock 2 by going through the moonshine story missions, and then there are 3 that you will unlock by just completing and progressing through the Moonshiner Role. The final one is called the Pies and Posse recipe, and for this you're just going to have to stumble across it as a free roam event in free roam, and you'll basically just see a little blip on the radar while you're running around, and you'll find 2 moonshiners at a still, and once you kill them or whatever, you will find the Pies and Posse recipe in one of the boxes. Of course, these recipes require ingredients, and it is wise to have a stockpile of supplies that you need for flavoring. 2 tips here is that you can just purchase the items that you need from your catalog and then have them delivered to you, or you can also just pick supplies up from Madame Nazar if you don't really want to go picking resources. That said, personally, I just make the berry cobbler moonshine. It's almost always got a buyer, so I don't need to have to keep an eye on the production and risk selling to Bert. And although it's just a 2-star recipe, so it doesn't sell for as much, the 3-star recipes do cost a collectible item, which personally I think you're better off just selling that to Madame Nazar in a collection. So now you know how to make your moonshine. Now how do you sell it? Well, you just go to Marcel and choose to sell your moonshine. The main problem here is that when you're delivering your moonshine, breaking bottles is going to reduce the price, and it's going to reduce the price ridiculously. This is why choosing a shack that has a lot of quiet roads as well as not bumpy roads is always a safer bet here, because it's very, very easy to break these bottles. But one great tip here is to use the cinematic mode. This will allow you just to follow the line automatically, and usually no bottles will break as long as you're in that mode. You can also use aiming your gun. That will also put you into automatically driving the cart. And again, you'd have to be very unlucky for a bottle to break while you're doing this. The one problem here is that you're going to have to go through revenue agents checkpoints. Now it is possible to just wave you through and you won't have to deal with them, but it's also possible they'll stop you, in which case they might have a look in the back, in which case they'll either see nothing and let you go through, or they'll get aggressive with you as they will spot this shine. You can stop and kill them and loot them if you want, but to be honest, I usually just ride through them and then just go back into the aiming gun mode, so my wagon is automatically going, and then just pick off any revenue agents that are trying to catch up and shooting me. So although I give you 2 options here with auto driving, either by cinematic mode or by aiming your weapon, I think aiming your weapon is a much safer bet, except for a few hairpin turns that you might come up, or some bumping railroad crossings, for example. And when you come to things like this, it's always best to kind of manually take over and just go very slow through this. After a while, wherever your shack is based, you'll kind of memorize where these risky areas are, and you'll be able to deliver these without any problem at all. If you're in a public lobby, you're probably best not to ride your wagon in defensive mode, as you're a big target for dynamite arrows and stuff like that. And being in defensive mode will prevent you from locking on and defending your wagon from getting blown up. Of course, if you do find that you're going to get attacked by some randomers in the lobby, you always have the option of quickly closing the app to save your moonshine and then trying again in another lobby. Sadly, this won't work if they do manage to destroy the wagon, but if you see the attack coming, you can kind of get out of dodge before it happens by closing the app. So just to give you an overview of some of the perks you'll be unlocking while you're ranking up through the Moonshiner Role, you'll obviously get some moonshine recipes, as I said earlier, and Berry Cobbler will be unlocked at rank 2. You'll also get an ingredient satchel upgrade at rank 7, which is really useful for increasing the amount of ingredients you can store in your pouch. The Master Distiller perk will be brilliant for you when you reach rank 15, as it will decrease the amount of time it takes to make your shine. And again, the Material Satchel upgrade is really good for increasing the amount of materials you can hold in your pouch. And finally, you'll get a Protection perk when you reach rank 19, which will reduce the amount of attacks that you'll get while delivering your shine. There is, of course, a bunch of emotes and cosmetic stuff that you will unlock along your journey through the perks, but these, to me, are the highlights that you should be aiming for. So now that you know everything about the Moonshiner Role, you'll probably want to get to rank 20 as fast as possible. So how do you do that? So if you want to maximize the amount of XP that you're getting from doing this role, you want to make weak 2-star moonshine. You want to go for the weak moonshine as it takes the shortest time to make and it only affects the price. However, flavoring it with 3-star moonshine will get you more XP, but at the cost of a collectible, which I think is a little bit more valuable, so I would stick with the 2-star moonshine. When you're selling your moonshine, you want to drive as fast as possible in cinematic mode, or just use the auto feature that I explained earlier. This will help you speed through any revenue agent checkpoints. Just make sure you're shooting any of the ones following you to deter them, and just be cautious of any bottles breaking. You do want to stick to the path as much as possible, and if you are unlucky and you hit a bump or something like that and you break a bottle, don't worry. You can just close the app and then reopen the app and you should be okay to go again. But this will sadly not work if the wagon is fully destroyed. You can also help others with their sales. Just keep in mind, if you're in another person's posse, your production of your shine will cease while you're in that, but you will get XP by helping others sell their shine also. And if you do want to break up the grind and just kind of make XP in other ways, playing Moonshiner story missions, events, the free roam activities are all great ways of getting XP also for the role, and have a little fun while doing it. Once you get to level 20 and you just kind of want to focus on money, to be honest, my main strategy here is I just make the 2-star Berry Cobbler Moonshine. The reason I usually go with this one is because that always has a buyer. Sometimes you will get burnt and you will have to sell it to Bert, but this is very rare. I think it's only happened to me 2 or 3 times ever. Like, it's rare to happen, so it is usually a safe bet to go with Berry Cobbler Moonshine. And it means I don't have to come back to the shack before the moonshine finishes to add the flavoring. So it's a lot easier to do this. Also, you're just working with the one moonshine, so you just have to make sure those particular ingredients are stocked up in your pouch and you'll be fine. So basically, create Berry Cobbler Moonshine, wait 48 minutes, then sell the Berry Cobbler Moonshine, and then rinse and repeat. And that should cover you for absolutely everything in the Moonshiner Role. You should be able to now rank it up very fast and earn a nice bit of money on the side by doing these sale missions. If you have any other tips and tricks, why not let us all know in the comments? I really love looking through the comments and learning new things myself, so I do appreciate that. If you found this video helpful, why not consider leaving a like and maybe even subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Thanks to everyone who does support this channel. I really do appreciate it, especially to the members. You guys are incredible and the reason I can make guides like this. Alright people, enjoy your moonshine.